Hi, everybody. Welcome into Sports Talk Chicago. My name's Jon Zaghloul. Great to have you here on Channel 59.3 BPOD TV and Roku. Big news today for the Bears. They're active once more in free agency, but Larry Ogunjobi will not be a part of the team. We'll explain in just a second. Before we get started, make sure you follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Jon Z Sports and on Facebook at Jon Zaghloul. If you want to watch more of the show, search up Sports Talk Chicago on YouTube or go to sportstalkchicago.com. If you want to watch more shows from the BPOD TV network, search up BPOD TV on YouTube. I want to start today with this. Always remember to do your due diligence. Sometimes complications arise, issues occur. You have to make sure you know what you're getting into. Can't just sign on to something, say, okay, what are we doing now? No. You have to make sure you do background, you understand the scope of the situation before you just go all in. That's a life lesson. It has to do with signing contracts, getting new jobs, or in the Bears' case, signing somebody who obviously had an injury. Larry Ogunjobi failed his physical, and as a result, the Bears will not be signing him. He is now a free agent again. Now, there are two ways to look at this right off the bat. Obviously, number one, very sad for Ogunjobi. He was about to get life-changing money. Didn't work out, and now, if he failed the Bears' physical, chances are he might fail other teams' physicals, obviously. But number two, and more importantly, the Bears almost signed somebody who was clearly hurt. I mean, obviously, it's a great thing that they didn't do it and waste their money, but you have to wonder, why was this not known or detected before? Why'd Ryan Poles go through with this transaction all the way through until, he failed his physical? Everybody knew he broke his foot in the playoffs. This was not a secret by any stretch. Why'd you wait all the way until now to realize, oh crap, maybe we shouldn't do that? Really a head-scratcher. And although I am happy the Bears didn't waste their money, credit to Poles and really the Bears' athletic training staff for giving him the physical and understanding, you know what, probably not going to work. But it doesn't make sense to me as to why you offer him the contract. It's essentially signed. And then, wait a minute. Your physical doesn't check out. So really, I want to credit the Bears' training staff. If it wasn't for the Bears' training staff, this would have been a huge mistake by Ryan Poles. He has somebody else cleaning up his mess, and that's fine. This is all a hypothetical. It didn't happen. Doesn't matter. This is not a critique of Ryan Poles. But I would hope that the next person he signs, other players in the future, the draft especially, he knows what he's doing here. That he understands how to look up medical records for players. And it should be a common sense thing. Everybody's injury history is relatively well known. All over the place, news articles, other teams. This is not some new aberration like, oh wow, we didn't know he was hurt. Everybody knew. Got hurt in the playoffs in front of the national stage, not just some 3-13 team that didn't make the playoffs. Cincinnati was in the playoffs when he got hurt. Everybody saw it, everybody knew. Broke his foot. You would think, well, this could be a problem off the bat before you even offer him a contract. Rookie mistake for the rookie GM. And I've been relatively happy with how he's done, no question. But this is almost unacceptable. And I'm not going to sit here and praise Ryan Poles for not signing him. If it wasn't for his training staff, he would have signed him. He was about to. He's the one who offered him the contract, even though he knew he had a broken foot. That is scary. Everybody makes mistakes. We knew Ryan Poles, whomever the Bears hired, was not going to be perfect. But this is the definition of a rookie mistake. And hopefully he learns from it. That's why, when I have guests on, especially, I ask them, is it going to be a problem that he has no experience? Resounding answers are no. And maybe it makes sense, sure. He's been around in Kansas City Chiefs front office for years. But you know what? This was a rookie mistake. This one's obvious. offer him a contract, 3-year deal, $30 million, or whatever it was. And then this happens. You know, it's really scary to me. If you couldn't spot this one, and this is pretty obvious, broken foot in the playoffs, wonder how he's going to do in the draft. And look, Ryan Pace drafted Kevin White. That was a total bust. Why? Because of injuries, mostly. I would really hope Ryan Poles doesn't do the same thing, but this whole situation does not comfort me. Shouldn't comfort you either. You have to do more due diligence, especially if you're a GM looking for somebody to replace Khalil Mack and play defense for you. This is a lesson. You cannot just go after the hot name or the budget signing only. You have to look at all aspects of it. Although I like the idea of budgeting and rebuilding. That doesn't mean you sign people who literally can't play or aren't healthy. This was a rookie mistake by Ryan Poles, and I would hope he doesn't do it again. Because if he does this in the draft, well, that's going to be a huge problem for the Bears moving forward. Look at Kevin White. I mean, look at the Bears' past. Chris Williams, another offensive lineman. There have been a number of times in which they've drafted somebody high, first round, who's just gotten hurt and hasn't played and has turned into a bust. I would hope Ryan Poles learns not only from his predecessors, but from this signing and this entire situation and understands, okay, when we draft somebody, we really have to scour their injury history. Are they healthy? Could there be any problems arising in the future? Got to find a way to evaluate this stuff before you go around offering $30+ million to people who can't play. The Bears did find a replacement, though, for Ogunjobi. Justin Jones, defensive lineman, 2-year deal. Jones, formerly of the Chargers, ironically enough, had an all-right year last year, started in 11 games, played in 11 games, 3 sacks, 37 tackles. So a lot of people on Twitter saying, oh, what a great move, praising it. This is nothing. This is nothing special. I mean, 37 tackles, 3 sacks, 11 games, fine. This is a middle-of-the-pack linebacker or defensive lineman, and that's pretty much it. There's nothing more to say other than that on this. And that's fine. Again, the Bears are trying to rebuild. This is a budget signing, a replacement for Ogunjobi. Why not take it, right? There's not much more to say about it. This is not going to be some huge, big-time signing. This is not a blockbuster move. This is some random player from the Chargers who had a decent year last year. That's it. 3 sacks, 11 games. Okay, who cares? He's a body on the field at this point. I hate to put it that way, but that's the truth based on numbers. Even his own career. I mean, half a sack his rookie year, none in 2019, then 1, then 3. Has 118 total tackles in his career in 51 games, 35 starts. This is a journeyman. This is nothing special. It's a budget move. It's a 2-year deal, which means, again, at the end of 2 years, he's going to be gone. The Bears, hopefully, will finish their rebuild. And they'll have somebody who actually has talent, who's actually really, really good to take over that spot. But until then, this is just a replacement and nothing more. And we're active on the free agent market for wide receivers, though. Byron Pringle was signed yesterday. Pringle, in his 3rd year at Kansas City, 568 receiving yards, 5 touchdowns. Interesting move. 13.5 yards per catch. Not bad. Pringle is probably going to be the number 3 or number 4 wide receiver on this team, and again, that's fine. The problem is the Bears never went after somebody big. I get it. You're rebuilding. But the last time I checked, you're supposed to rebuild around Justin Fields. I hate to be this guy, but it's just true. What does Pringle really bring to the table? I get it. He's improved every year, and last year was his career season. But if your career season is 500 receiving yards, being the number 3 or number 4 in Kansas City, how is that going to help Justin Fields? It's fine to give the kid a chance, see how he does, see how he fits in the system. But if your goal is to develop Justin Fields and put weapons, real weapons around him, this does not fit that mold. At all. Then I would have rather kept Allen Robinson at this point, who, by the way, went to Los Angeles. Goes to the Rams for a big deal. Good for him. Everybody might say good riddance at this point for his performance last year, but really good for him. Robinson goes to a real contender, Super Bowl champion, plays with Matthew Stafford. He will get targets. He will get receptions. He'll get looks. You got Cooper Kupp there who's going to draw most of the attention. Allen Robinson will have 1,000 yards next year. No question. Probably 80, 90 catches, too. Great move for him in his career, and more importantly, for a ring. Said that last week when I talked about Robinson and the Bears officially cutting ties. He needs a ring. He has wasted his career being in Jacksonville and Chicago, nowhere near a Super Bowl. Now he gets his chance. I wish him nothing but the best. He's going to do great out there. There's no other way to put it. When you're teaming up with Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods is supposedly a trade target. If they keep him, there's something. They re-sign Odell Beckham if he's going to be healthy. No matter what, Allen Robinson will get targets. He right now is the number 2. Really even a 1A, 1B type situation with Cooper Kupp. There's nothing more you could ask for. Plays in warmer weather, on a real contender, trying to defend their Super Bowl. That's probably the best situation you could think of. If you're Allen Robinson, you leave this place for that? I mean, my gosh. Good for him. Would have been nice if the Bears kept him around. Obviously, though, they didn't want to pay. I understand it. But I will say this. We're sitting here talking about rebuilding and catering to Justin Fields. It doesn't look like they're doing that right now. I'm sorry, but I don't see it. I don't see how Byron Pringle and Aquemia St. Brown are going to do that. St. Brown signed from the Packers. Just to give you an idea, St. Brown had 9 catches for 98 yards last year. I mean, really? Come on. I don't care if he knows Luke Getsy, played in his offense. He wasn't a big part of the offense there. So even if he knows Luke Getsy, doesn't matter. He's in Green Bay for 3 years, did nothing. I would have stayed in Green Bay at this point, would have gotten more chances knowing Davante Adams is gone. I want to give Poles time, as I've said a number of times on this program, but some of these signings and the way things have gone only in the past 24 hours have me scratching my head. You completely botch the whole Ogunjobi situation, and if it wasn't for your trainers who bailed you out, you would have looked like an idiot. You signed 2 wide receivers who supposedly will bolster the wide receiving core, but really are nothing. They're 4s or 5s on any other team. And you signed the replacement for Ogunjobi and some random player, a guy who has 3 sacks, and that's a career high in a season. I hope they all do well. I hope they all prove me wrong. Let's be real here. This is not even a Mitch Trubisky or Justin Fields argument. There is no production, period, out of any of these guys. Pringle has the best chance to do something here. Maybe. It just doesn't make sense when you say, I'm building around Justin Fields. I want Justin Fields to be successful. I want a team around Justin Fields. He needs weapons, keyword, weapons. And these are the players you're paying for. Just don't get it. I mean, this is pathetic. I hate to say it. It's true. It's pathetic. St. Brown has 98 yards last year. That's it. 9 catches. Pringle, okay, 568, great. He could be a good number 3, number 4. Anybody who the Bears draft will automatically be better than those 2, though. Anybody who the Bears draft is better than those 2, no matter what. That means Darnell Mooney's going to be your number 1. And these 2, and what, who else? Daz Newsome, maybe? I understand they're going through a rebuild. But I'll say this too. If you think Justin Fields will show any improvement with that wide receiving core, you're wrong. And if we're talking about seeing if Fields could improve, wondering if he's really the right quarterback for this team, building around him, none of these moves signify any of that. These are beyond low-budget moves. If you're rebuilding, that's fine. But the rebuild's supposed to be about Justin Fields. This isn't a random rebuild. The rebuild is to cater to Justin Fields. He's our quarterback. We're going to make sure he has good talent around him. I don't know, based on what I'm seeing here, there isn't much talent to go around. What I hate even more is that people are justifying these moves and praising them. Okay, the Bears signed the Chiefs' number 3 or number 4 wide receiver. They signed their number 5 wide receiver from Green Bay. Who cares? Okay? You cannot sit here and tell me these are great ideas or great moves or, hey, they're going to help with the rebuild. The rebuild's around Justin Fields. The rebuild is focused on Justin Fields. If that's the case, why are you signing the number 4 and number 5 receivers for other teams and then telling me, hey, it's a great move, helps out Justin Fields? Justin Fields cannot complete any passes to any of these people. And the whole problem last year, part of it was wide receivers. He needs weapons. We've talked about this for years on the program now. He needs weapons. These are not weapons. These are journeymen. I would hope in the draft, something comes through. Maybe the Bears trade up. They do something. Because right now, as it stands for this roster, not looking too good. It'd be different if they were rebuilding fully, but they're not. They're doing this on purpose for Justin Fields' sake. They claim they're helping him out, but really, I don't see any help here. I see more burdens than help. It's like that friend who tells you, hey, I'm going to help you out doing something, then they do the job worse, and you have to clean up after their mess, then do the job itself again. That's what this is. Justin Fields is way better than whomever these guys are. He's going to have to clean up after their mess on the offense. Well, just have to wait and see what the Bears do. I'm happy they did not sign Ogunjobi, but this entire situation does not reflect well on Ryan Poles, no matter what, even with Ogunjobi. He offered him the contract. He paid him the money. The money was sitting right there, the contract right there, 3 years. It was only because the athletic training staff found a problem. That's why it was voided. Ryan Poles did not do enough research, or I guess looking into the whole foot injury and whether or not he'd be okay before offering him the deal. It may not matter when it comes to free agency, but it sure as hell matters if that's the mindset and then you're drafting people. Because Ryan Pace made that same mistake first pick he ever had, Kevin White. So when you trust somebody like Ryan Poles to draft people, and yet he can't even get a physical right for an NFL player who we all knew was hurt, that is something you have to be scared about too. Thanks for watching today's show here on BPOD TV, channel 59.3 in Roku. Really appreciate the time. Remember, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Jon Z Sports and on Facebook at Jon Zaghloul. If you want to watch more of this show, search up Sports Talk Chicago on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and sportstalkchicago.com. Tune in here every night at 10:30 on BPOD TV. So long, everyone.